Back to the Godhood podcast. I am Tyler Martin, master comic book creator, writer, and publisher, and founder of Godhood Comics, one of the largest Black-owned comic book publishers in the nation. All right, so we are back today with another video. Like I said in the last video, this YouTube channel is going to be all about helping new comic book creators create. Right? I wish I had a channel like this early on, or a guide or a mentor back in early 2015 when we got started, because man, we blew a lot of money, made a lot of mistakes, and I just wish I had someone in my corner, and I'm that guy for you. All right, so in this video today, we're going to talk about my top 5 resources for beginning comic book creators. So if you're a beginner, this video is for you. All right. I can't stress this enough, that when you're creating comic books, it is very hard. It's very tiresome, very long, very tedious, very lonely. And so there are resources out there that can not only help you save time and money, but can also help you save stress. Because the number one most important rule that I always say to new comic book creators, or just comic book creators in general, is like, you got to have fun. You got to have fun. This is possibly the most fun job that I've ever had. It has completely retired me. I haven't worked since 2020. I've only been making comics. And check out my other video between the difference between comic creators and comicpreneurs. You got to figure out which one you are first before you go down this journey. All right. So let's get into my top 5 resources for new comic book creators, for the beginners. All right. Number 5 is always going to be community. You have to establish a presence on social media. You've got to get on social media. If you're shy, if you're timid, if you are afraid to speak, if you're afraid to be seen, if you're afraid to be heard, then this is not going to be the type of industry for you, especially if your goal is to push and sell your books. Like if you really want people to buy your books, right? There's a lot of people that says, oh, I'm not a salesman. Well, guess what? It's not going to work out for you. You've got to be everything. You've got to be a salesman. You've got to be a CPA. You've got to be a marketer. You've got to be an advertiser. You've got to be all these things. You're wearing a lot of hats as a comic book creator. Now, I always say, if you can't do it, outsource it. And we'll make another video about that. If you can't write, find a writer. If you can't draw, find an artist. If you can't edit, find an editor. You should always find an editor. I take that back. But my point being is, if you can't do something, you better find somebody who can, or you're going to be SOL. And I don't have to spell that out for you. All right. Facebook. You have got to join these groups. All right. So number 1, this is one of my favorite pages. This is one of the pages that I got started with early on. It's how I discovered the comic book community, so to speak. And there are dozens of these pages that are super beneficial, right? But my favorite one is connecting comic book writers and artists. So if you want to make your comic book and you're not an artist or a writer, or you are one and not the other, you can go and join this group on Facebook, which has 53.k members. All right. And not only can you just scroll and you see people are posting their work, there's artists that come here and say, hey, I need to be hired. I want to work. I want to make your comic. There's also writers that say, hey, I want to write your comic idea. And it's all about community. It's all about fostering community. And, you know, scrolling through here and seeing just a lot of the stuff that's super beneficial. And I'll say this, when you're joining these groups, guys, you can really kind of cater it to your specific needs, right? And so I'm huge in a lot of these groups. I've joined comic book creators, right? Black Art Renaissance, and so now they're also very amazing groups for Black comic creators, right? And that's what I am. I'm a Black comic creators, comic creator. But you need to find the group that is going to be that caters to you, so to speak. And so Black Superheroes Forever is something that's really cool. A lot of my colleagues and friends in the space, Black Comic Lords, by Black National, Comic Books, Blurred Writers Association. A lot of the groups that I have joined cater to my specific needs in community. All right. Also, you need to be using Twitter. Also, you need to be using Instagram. You have got to put yourself out there. If you remain quiet, if you're not interacting, you need to be commenting, you need to be liking, you need to be showing yourself and showing other creators who you are, because giving support, we'll talk about this later, giving support is going to get you support. I always say that. And I'm always going to say what I always say because I always say it. All right. So that's one. That's going to be number 5. Get in there and interact and build your community, build your fan base. You have got to do that. And easy number 4 for me. We talked about this in the last video, and we're going to talk about it in as many videos as possible. Kickstarter. Crowdfunding in general, not just Kickstarter. We had our issues with Kickstarter early on, and they have made changes that we see are beneficial, but you need to find the crowdfunding site that's beneficial for you. So whether that be Kickstarter, Indiegogo, Zoop, I think Fund My Comic is a new one that's super, super dope. We're also going to be building one in the near future, so stay tuned for that. For early investment, you can invest in your own crowdfunding platform. We'll release that later this year, or release the information later this year. But you need to find the crowdfunding site that best suits you. Now, Kickstarter is all or nothing. Indiegogo is not like that. What does that mean? Indiegogo means that whatever you raise, so you'll set a goal of $10,000 on Indiegogo, and you might raise $4,000. Well, Indiegogo will let you keep that money. They'll let you keep what you raised. Kickstarter is not like that. Kickstarter, if you set a goal of 10K, you've got to hit the 10K or you don't keep any of it. And we found that that works better for us because it's like everybody involved now knows that it's grind time. Your supporters, your team, like we got to be out here. We got to get it. We got to be on go mode. We got to be on grind mode. And it just produces a sense of urgency for you and your supporters. And that means everybody comes and everybody backs. And that's why a lot of successful independent comic creators, a lot of my colleagues, we all use Kickstarter. Speaking of such, don't forget Street Knights issue number 1, 32 pages is on Kickstarter right now. We have already raised $22,710. We have 9 days to go. This is a Kickstarter exclusive. It's not going to be on our website. It's not going to be in comic shops. It's not going to be at conventions with us. This is strictly for our fans. So issue 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on will all take to Kickstarter because we want to build our community and our fan base based on when we launch these campaigns. As we said in the last video, we want everybody to jump on it. All right. So make sure you get that. And again, find the crowdfunding site that works best for you. It's not a secret. It's not a secret. You know your needs as a comic creator and how that works. But also, guys, it may not be crowdfunding. I'm going to talk about getting investments in another video. Matter of fact, comment if you want me to talk about how to find investments for your comic book or comic book company. And we'll talk about that. That's a whole another video. But early on, you need to, I always say, beg, borrow, and steal. It's not literally stealing, but I mean, working hard. You're going to have to, when you first get started, you're going to be funding your own comic book. When you first get started, your family or friends are going to be funding your own comic book. And don't be afraid to ask. You have to ask people, hey, I'm doing a comic book. I need this amount of money. Can you loan me this and this and this? And I'll make it back to you on the crowdfunder. You've got to be bold. Fortune favors the bold. So get out there and get the money. We're going to be talking about this. We're going to be offering classes, and we'll talk about this way more in detail very soon. But that's for now. All right. Now I want you guys to pay close attention to what we're going to be talking about next. because it's super important. Now, here's a resource that I think is we haven't really uh tapped into its entirety, but look at this. Who would have guessed? Conventions. Conventions rolls back into the top 5 and 4, right? With community. So not only are you building a community and connecting with your fans, but you're also crowdfunding, making money, selling your comic books. You've got to go to conventions, guys. Not even as a vendor, but you should be booking your tickets to go to the nearest convention that you possibly can get to. Walking those halls, walking down those aisles to really see other creators and asking the creators questions and getting to know this industry and how it works, and really, and that's another way of how you're getting yourself out there. I have never been to a convention where if you don't ask, if you ask an artist or creator or a publishing company or who's ever there a question, it doesn't get answered. And if it doesn't get answered, then they are assholes and gatekeepers, and you don't need anything from them anyway because you've got me. But go to your conventions. We're about to have a huge convention run this year. But in the past, when we've gone, we sell out. We sold all of our merch and our books, and it's just a blast. It's so fun. I remember early on in 2015, I went to, I want to say it was the Atlanta Comic Con. I went to Atlanta Comic Con. I'm in Atlanta, guys, and I didn't have anything. I went as a as just a regular person going to see as a consumer, and all I had was a picture. I printed out my board, and all I had was a picture of Mega Woman, our first character. And I was carrying around, showing it, asking artists questions, asking comic creators questions, and I was blown away by these people. This is before social media was super heavy. This was before social media was like, oh, this thing where you could monetize. But I was so astounded by the hard work I had seen these people commit to, and it was life changing, and it really helped me really get in bed with Godhood Comics and go full force in what I do. So figure out when your next convention is in your town or city, and when your closest one is in your town or city, and get there. I think tickets can average from $10 up to $30 just to walk in, and it's for the weekend. I mean, you could buy a weekend bundle or however that is, but it's an investment. It's an investment. It's fun, but it's also an investment into your future and what you want to do. All right, so get those conventions going. You got to get those conventions going. If you're not, get them going. That's all I'm saying. Get them going. Second one is, I call this the eye. You've got to have the eye. You'll often hear me say across the board on social media that comic books are the only form of literature in which you need to judge a book by its cover. And that doesn't mean the cover, but the interior pages as well. You need good art. Don't listen to any of those kumbaya comic creators, those guys that push daisies are talking about, well, all art is good and relatively good. Of course, art is an expression of the human conscience. It's all good. But there are levels to this, right? A high quality movie, and a low quality movie. A movie that's in theaters versus a movie that's on Tubi. It. Both are art forms. Both are necessary. But if you want to sell comic books, you have to have top quality art, guys. I see so many of my colleagues struggle because their art is trash. I mean, bad, bro, bad. And early on, I said, you know what? We are a Black-owned company, and they're not going to let us slide. We always have to do more. We always have to be top dog. We always have to put in more work to get notified and get recognized. And I said to myself, my books are going to look like they came from Marvel and DC. And that's the standard we set throughout our industry, that a lot of our colleagues have risen their standards. But a lot of our friends in the industry, they struggle to make sales because they don't care. They're putting anything. I can immediately look at a piece of art from a comic book and tell if it's going to sell or not. All right. And so let's find some examples of what I mean. We'll start with our own artwork. This is one of my favorite art pieces that we have, by the way. And we'll see if this is going to sell or if it's not going to sell. We shall see. All right. So yeah, here we are. It looks really good, right? Um, it looks really good. It's top quality art. Hubert Michael Kahn did this. He's a former DC artist that we employed for. He also did our issues, but this is top quality art. This is the kind of artwork that it's going to get noticed on a shelf. It's going to get noticed in a magazine or a previews catalog. It's going to get noticed and it's going to pull people in. This is the kind of artwork that if you're on a crowdfunding site or a Kickstarter, it's going to make you hit the link. It's going to make you read on the story. And it's going to be the difference between if I'm going to give you my money or not. Make sure you have the eye for artwork. And everybody doesn't have the eye, and sadly, they struggle. But everybody can have the eye. It's something that you train yourself on. It's something that you really have to train yourself on. This is astounding artwork. This is astounding artwork. All right. Take note of that. Now let's go to, again, because I don't want anybody tagging us and saying, well, Godhood said this and this. But no, hear me out. All artwork is beautiful because it's an expression of human conscience. But if you want to make money here, because let me tell you, that's why I said comic creator or comicpreneur. I love making comic books. They make me happy. I can make comic books. It's my passion. And you've got to know purpose, passion, profit. I'm sorry, passion, purpose, profit. My mentor told me passion is the one thing that you enjoy so much you do it for free for the rest of your life. That's for me is comics. I love making comics. I've done it for free early on before we started making money, and I would continue to do it now. And because God put this liking of this thing in you, it probably has to do something with your purpose. And so my purpose is making comic books and delivering the message of right and wrong and God through comic books. That's what I feel like my purpose is. And then profit. You have to learn how to make money from your purpose. And so knowing what your goal is in making comics is going to distinguish your route and your journey. It's not for everybody. Everybody doesn't want to sell. And if you don't want to sell your books and you just want to make you just want to take what's in your brain and put it on a piece of paper, that's creating. That's okay. You can do that. But I always say, if you are trying to make money, if you're trying to change your life, if you're trying to create comics for a living, you're going to have to sell them, and you sell that with the eye. All right. All right. So now what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at some artwork that isn't exactly what I would say what I would say is not good. Now, you're going to laugh at this, but it's actually one of the cases where you see a lot of grown adult creators who are making comic books like this and are very upset as to why they're not selling. And it's almost sad to see. All right. So here's what your comic shouldn't look like. You have to invest in good artwork, guys. If you're going to scale, this is only if you want to scale. So do not take what I'm saying the wrong way. If you want to scale, if you just want to make things, make them however you want to make them. If you want to scale, there's a way to do that, and there's a way not to do that. All right. And so that's why number 2 is what I call the eye. You have to have the eye for artwork. You have to have the eye for high quality creations. And so that doesn't even include, not just the artwork. We're talking about the coloring, we're talking about the lettering, we're talking about the inking, we're talking about all of these things that are going to propel your artwork to the next level, to get you collaborations, to get you adaptions, to get you clientele, and more importantly, to make money. Number one of the top 5 comic book resources that new beginners need to know is going to be Word. Guys, listen to me. When it comes to writing a script, you do not need to spend a whole lot of money on any of these script writing, draft writing, whatever, final draft, whatever it is. You shouldn't be spending any money on writing a script. You should be spending any money on writing a script. Go to Word, write your script on Word. It's free. And hey, if you don't have a computer, if you can't get to Word, write it in your notes. You need a free software, a free platform to be writing your script and be writing your outline. Okay. Number one is Word. I know you guys probably expected this to be like some big thing, but I get emailed and contacted all the time, or what writing software did you use? What writing software should I use? But yes, use Microsoft Word to write your scripts, guys. Use a free software to write your scripts. You should never be paying for a software to write your scripts. All your money straight off the back when you get started goes to the artwork. Get your character drawn. Get a headshot of your character. So that is our top 5 comic book creating tips for beginners, resources, as I'll say, in community and social media, crowdfunding, conventions, the I, and Microsoft Word, things that you wouldn't even be like, oh, what's going on here? All right. Guys, like, subscribe, share this video, comment more things that you want to see. Like I said, we're going to start uploading videos at least twice a week or more, based on if we can get away and start doing that and be consistent. But thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for watching, guys. Hit me up. Follow us on all social media at Godhood Comics, on Instagram, on X, on TikTok, wherever you are, we're there. Let's connect. Let's collab. All right, guys. Start creating. Blessings. Say your prayers. Amen.